Why not just do acoustic? Yeah, just do acoustic.
Om Amarteshwarya Namaha. 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Hare Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Hare Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Om Namah. Hare Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Hare Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Hare Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Om Amarteshwarya Namaha. 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Om Namah. Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah.
Thank you so much, Darby and Shakshi. That was wonderful. Just got my heart open wide. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to New Thought Center, Hawaii. Welcome to all of you here on the Lanai, joining us today on a beautiful Kona morning. And welcome to all of those elsewhere around the world who are joining us via Zoom. Thank you so much for joining us. And we are curious about who of you out there in Zoom land are joining us from, where you're joining us from. So maybe you could go to our website sometime and just let us know where you are. So this is Sunday, March 26th, and we're going to begin. Well, first of all, thanks to Darby and Shakshi. They are joining us today to do harmonium and drumming for us, which is wonderful. Um, so we're going to start by having someone, well, one of our members, read from the Science of Mind magazine. So thank you very much, Tony. I think you'll have to tap on that.
Aloha, good morning. We have a beautiful, beautiful reminder today, as they always are. Let life be good to you. I want to live like a river flows, carried by the surprise of its own unfolding. When we learn to trust the universe, we shall be happy, prosperous, and well. Ernest Holmes, Science of Mind. We often speak in New Thought about the unique gift that each of us is uniquely talented and equipped to serve the whole in the ways that are just right for our own soul. That's true. But did you also realize that the universe seeks to deliver itself to you in exactly the ways best suited to your authentic nature? You are a blessing, and at the same time, life is seeking to bless you in the best possible ways, giving you precisely what you need and want. That being the case, how is your receptivity? Many of us struggle with our own sense of worthiness. Can we actually live the life of our dreams? We attract the relationships that are a match for our consciousness. We attract the jobs, the financial blessings. Even in our teaching of infinite love and abundance, we can still fall into a dualistic belief in a transactional spiritual economy that will receive blessings when we've earned them. But here's the great truth, they're already given. The blessings you desires are already yours. They only await your willingness to receive them. There's work and consciousness needed for all of us, not to raise our worthiness level or our desire quotient, but rather to enlarge our capacity to receive. Start today by focusing on that which is already present in your life that is a fit for your soul. Fill your heart and mind with gratitude, not only that your needs are met, but they are met in a personally fulfilling way. This is what wants to happen for us in every area of life. Will you allow it? Will you let life be good to you? Here's our affirmation. I'll say the whole thing and then we'll repeat it piece by piece. The perfect life of spirit flows through me into me now. I give of my authentic nature in ways that are perfect for my soul's expression. I receive all I need and desires in ways that are perfect to me. So if you want to repeat after me, the perfect life of spirit flows through me
The perfect life of spirit flows through me
and to me now.
and to me now.
I give of my authentic nature
I give of my authentic nature
in ways that are perfect for my soul's expression.
in
In
ways
ways
that
that
are
are perfect for my soul's expression. I receive
I receive all
all
I
I
need
need and
and desire
desires, and ways that are perfect for me.
in ways
Ways
that
that
are
are
perfect
perfect for
for me.
me and for us. No, I added that. Sorry. Sorry, Ernest. I apologize, Ernest. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony. Um, my name is Ramona Owen, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees, and I'm facilitating today for our guest, Richard Stevens. Um, Prior to that, we're going to have a meditation and maybe, remember what was just shared with us through the Science of Mind magazine reading and grow that connection and grow that openness to receiving. So I'll chime it meditation in and then I'll chime it out. So if you would just put your feet on the ground if you want, sit up straight, feel the energy in your spine connecting all the way into the Mother Earth, and begin breathing, taking in a breath slowly and exhaling, taking in a breath slowly and exhaling. And once more, inhaling and exhaling, and just feeling grounded, feeling centered. returning to the consciousness of your being here on the lanai. Feel the cool Kona breezes of this wonderful morning wafting through the lanai, touching your skin. Breathe in the connection with the one and immerse yourself in the gratitude of being at one with the one. So welcome everybody on the lanai. Welcome everyone who lives elsewhere and is not here on the lanai with us today in person, but definitely in spirit and in heart space. So just a little bit of information about New Thought Center Hawaii. We've been here on the Big Island of Hawaii for just over 50 years, and our purpose is to honor the diversity of all paths. An important part of our growth and evolution as a spiritual center has been to follow the guidance of our last minister, who encouraged us when she left some years back to minister to ourselves, for us to join as a community in this role. So that has evolved to mean that every week we have a different facilitator and we have amazing speakers. We have different musicians from the community as well. The speakers are people who have interesting lives, who come here to share with us their journeys, their path work, one of which is here with us today, Professor Richard Stevens, who I will introduce to you more at length later this morning. We're affiliated with the New International New Thought Alliance, and we were chartered as a religious science church in 1971 and became New Thought Church of Hawaii in 1981, beginning the practice of ministering to one another in 1984. In 2000, we became New Thought Center of Hawaii. We stand for love and inclusivity and welcoming new people. And I know that there are a lot of familiar faces here this morning. I wonder if there's anybody here that's new who would maybe raise their hand. Hi, good morning. Yes, yes. You're you're welcome to come up and give us your name at this microphone if you are feel comfortable. Right here, here and introduce yourself and maybe tell us a little bit how you heard about us. And, okay, thank you. Yes, please. And just pull it down if it's necessary.
Everybody hear me okay? Hi, my name is Lana Shively. I'm a veteran puppeteer. I now work with animals because I lost my feeling for entertaining humans. I'm in school studying uh, e- uh, ecological zoology, basically, cognitive ethology. I live up the street. I've been in Hawaii 7 years by accident. I meant to come here for a month, and some animals have adopted me. Uh, I call myself hylozoist because that's an old word for all is one and all is self, and an old Greek term. And I love you all, and we are all one. And thank you for letting me share your space. I'm here with my sister Celeste, who I haven't met, I haven't known very long, but when I met her, I knew she was my sister. And thank you very much for all you do. It's beautiful, and one love. Is that good? Thank you.
Tell me your name again.
Lana Shively.
Okay, and we have a guest book there, so
Will do. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lana. Hi, Celeste. All right. Is there anybody else here who is here for the first time? I don't know you, way in the back there. What's your name? Winnie? Hi, Winnie. Yeah, I've seen your face, but I just didn't know your name. Welcome. Glad to see you again. Yeah, aloha. Okay, so Darby and Shakshi getting some refreshment. Musicians need that too, you know. Yeah, so if you could share some wonderful music with us again, that would be really sweet. Thank you.
Do you all love Krishna? Do you want to hear a song for Krishna? Anyone? And Ganesh? We'll have to save that for another day. So some of you may know this one. It's originally a Krishna Das. You all know Krishna Das, and it's a really beautiful prayer, talking and praying to Govinda, who is the form of Krishna, the protector of the cows. As many of you may all know, in India, cows are considered holy and often worshipped. And then we also have Hari, the feminine form, the goddess Radhe. And we're also singing to Gopala. He is the form of Krishna, also, that's the shepherd. And I love the last line, and I'll sing it to you as well in English. Um, it goes, "O sweet Lord, who is merciful and compassionate. O sweet Lord, stay with me, protect my heart, now and throughout all eternity." Govinda Hare Oops. Sorry. Hold on one sec. Wheel it up. Thank you. Govinda Hare Gopala Hare Hai Prabhu Deenadayala Hare Govinda Hare Gopala Hare Hey Prabhu
Thank you so very, very much. Woo, so transporting. Thank you. And just a reminder that when we want to clap for somebody, we have this sign language, raising our hands and wiggling our fingers. Shakshi seems to like that one. So now we've come to the part of our service we call miracles and ordinaries. Miracles because the events that occur in our lives are unexpected, and ordinaries because they happen in the midst of our daily lives. So if anybody would like to come up and to the mic and share with us a miracle and or an ordinary, we would welcome you. Okay, watch the. Hi, Anna. Good morning.
Good morning, Ivana. And I do have some miracles to report. My partner David was recently beset with very serious health issues, and they've all been resolved. Um, and he's given the go ahead to lead a normal life. One of them was that he had a deep vein thrombosis, which is that thing they warn you about when you're on an airplane. And it happened right after a long flight to San Francisco from Hawaii. So we think that's where it where it started, but it didn't end there. He had both a diverticula that went to diverticulitis, which was very painful, and then when they did the CAT scan, they found something wrong with his liver, and the MRI of his liver showed clear. He's on blood thinners, and the colonoscopy said it was a big benign polyp and not cancer. So we're just, we're very, very happy. And tomorrow he flies. He's on blood thinner, so that's safe for him to fly. And we're just real, real blessed.
Oh, that's wonderful news. Yes, Tony, come and join us. Share with us. Thank you, Anna.
I'm so happy to hear that, Anna. We've followed a little bit and just prayers and blessings, and it's wonderful. Couldn't ask for anything more. So compared to that, this is like an ordinary, but it's still wonderful. It's still wonderful. So Palmer and I were planning our trip back to the mainland, and normally flights for me, when there's spiritual reasons involved, go flow. And if they're not, then you look at a different. Nothing we were doing was working, just nothing. And I couldn't, I kept looking at, okay, what could it be? What can we? And it was just making a mess. The more we tried, the more mess it made. So I got up one morning and it just felt different. And we went in. I went back to our reservation on Delta, which we don't normally fly, and thought, what if I tried to change the flight? And I knew I could because they had changed our flight on us, making long layovers, blah blah blah, all the stuff from travel. So I clicked on that and went in and found a longer flights, but two flights. Both of those flights have a sleeper seat on them because they're both 5.5 and 6 hours. So we went from we were first class, but we went into a sleeper seat on both of those, reduced our layover time in half. We got where we were to our destination earlier, and that was that piece. That was wonderful. Then how do we get from that point to the next point? That wasn't working out very well either, and those seats were limited. And we said, what if we rented a car and drove? So so we got a car, which eliminated the need for somebody to pick us up an hour and a half drive both ways to the airport. We got the car. The car ended up and we drove to two other destinations in the car, and the car ended up being the same price that it would have been if we flew. So, and there was a whole bunch of other things that was just boom, 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 and it was wonderful. And I'm so grateful. It just takes so much stress off. Thank you, Spirit.
Thank you, Tony. That's wonderful. Okay, hi Margie. Good morning.
I'm Margie, and I want to say something kind of ordinary, but to me, it's also a miracle. I just want to thank Rob for putting the sign out because last Sunday we had a really fantastic uh, program. And so there was a lot going on, and I don't think everybody picked up exactly what was said, but we had somebody here who is new to the area, and he and his wife were going by and they saw the sign. And to me, I always thought the sign was put out there in case somebody's coming from Hilo or uh, from some other part of the island and they're not sure where to turn. But we actually had people here who looked at the sign. And how often do we tell Rob, "Hey, thank you for putting that out there"? We take things for granted, you know. Well, of course the sign's going to be there. I don't have to put the sign out. I've taken the sign out before. It's heavy, and I'd rather not. So I'm glad I don't. And then I also want to say uh, I I have been picking up the money, the offering for several years now. And last Sunday, we just, like I said, it was really a special program, and we had over $200 in cash given. And I think that's because the program that Cam gave to us, that people were just so blessed and blessed us. So miracles. Okay, we had to show it off. Well, I guess we'll let everybody come up. This, if you're not here in person, you won't be able to see it. Uh, Hank's picture. Um, we're sharing it between Tony Palmer and myself. Hank has it's the leopard that he talks about. Dr. Hank Wesselman, that who passed away 2 years ago. Our shaman for here, that two people, and that was another thing that happened last. Oh, gives me goosebumps. Last Sunday, that Pasha and Tony, uh, during the meditation, he came, and his picture that he painted of the leopard, that was one of his spiritual guides ever since he was a little kid. We have it here. We're sharing it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Margie, and thank you for um, having that up during this service so that we can all benefit from it and share in it. Um, I was just telling Tony earlier that I was at the Hawaii Choral Society rummage, and towards the end, I was immersed in the bookshelf, and one of Hank's books jumped out at me. So that was an ordinary. Yes, Pasha.
Well, this is sort of an ordinary miracle, but yesterday, Patty Wall and I both kind of wanted to go to the Historical Society annual meeting for kind of different reasons, but we empowered each other to actually do it. And I tend to be kind of a planner, but in this case, I just sort of kind of hurried up my new thought work and jumped in the car, and we missed the meeting. We didn't do the business stuff, but we got there for most of the entertainment and the food, um and Patty knows lots and lots of people there because her husband was president for years and years. I thought I wouldn't know very many people, which was one of the reasons I was a little reluctant to go, but um one thing that was sweet to me was I well, two of my former students played roles in the program. One of them I didn't get to talk to. He was a musician, but I'd known him when he was 12, and his voice hadn't even changed yet. But as a man, beautiful, sweet voice and nice Hawaiian songs, and then the other one was it was Kumu Kaea, whom some of you may know or be familiar with. But lo and behold, she did what she called a genealogy lesson, um, which to do with understanding your own name. You know, how did you, why did you receive that name? What does it mean? Um, that sort of thing, uh, and about your grandparents and great grandparents, just sort of owning your own genealogy. Um, and she did it a little bit for herself, and turns out she her birth name was Yuki Lyons, and I thought, oh, that sounds really familiar. And turns out, like, okay, so did get a chance to talk to her later, and so right around the time I was starting my teaching career in the 80s, she was a student at my school, and we both remembered each other, and it was just a really heartwarming connection. So thank you.
Thank you, Pasha. Yeah, it's also at the Hawaii Choral Society Rummage. I had a connection with Kumukaea as well, not in person, but with one of her kupuna students over an ukulele, and that was a nice connection. Yeah, my daughter and my granddaughter are in her halau, so it's nice to move around through the island and go to different events and feel connected to community. Yeah. Did you? Sure. We can squeeze another one in. We love miracles and ordinaries.
I
Woohoo.
can't believe I forgot the real miracle. Pasha reminded me when she was talking. We got in the car. We drove to the Kahalu Theater in Waimea for an indigenous improvu from Maori people and from New Zealand. And it was quite very, very fascinating. I've never seen anything like it. It's just something that stays with you. And but so we were driving, and my friend and her friend, she said, "Do you mind if I bring a friend?" No, they hop in the car. And so they get in the car, and she introduces her friend. And I think, sitting there, and I think, this name sounds so familiar. And I turn around and said, "I think I've met you." She said, "Yeah. So we're trying to figure out, where did we meet?" And I said, "Oh, I met you. Da 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 da." She's like, "Yeah, yeah, I remember you." And I said, "I've I was on your land." And she said, "Yes." And I said, "I think we did bhajans together and kirtans together." She said, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh my gosh, Manmohan." And she said, "Yes, he's passed away. But his son Darshan," I said, "Oh my God, I remember Darshan. What a beautiful soul. He has two children, and they're taking his ashes and coming back here and spreading on the land." I'm like, "Oh my goodness, would you please give him my regards?" And I went, "Oh my gosh, you guys, you guys picked out a car for us before we moved to Hawaii, and we needed a car and we couldn't go see it." Yes, I did. And um, many of you may know Jill, and she helps with the seed, our indigenous seeds here. There's a big conference in Washington, D.C., where the keepers of some of these seeds are and I'm sorry if I'm not representing the, the whole essence of it, but there's a big convention in Washington, D.C., and a lot of these seed keepers and holders are going, and she's going to be going next week. So that's very auspicious that we have someone there from Hawaii to do that. And safe travels, Jill. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Yeah, I love that information about the seeds. Um, Back in 1980, I was here studying for my medical anthropology degree and studying with different um, kahunas and botanists, ethnobotanists, and there was a movement back then to start, um, like a seed um, saving, yeah, organizations, and some of them have flourished, over time, and they hold the seeds to plants on the planet that may not even be really in existence anymore. Hi, Anika. And so they are the keepers, of the plants that for the future. They're really an awesome sacred duty. Well, so we are at the point in our program where I'm going to introduce our speaker. We have with us today Richard Stevens, and he is going to be presenting today. I'm just going to read a little bit of his bio beforehand, and there's some of this information on the table over there if you want to pick it up later. Richard Stevens grew up in Iowa and joined the Marines soon after high school. He later became a refugee advisor for the U.S. Agency for International Development and a Foreign Service officer. He served in both military and civilian roles during 3 years in Vietnam, was wounded twice, missing once, and received several Vietnamese medals and the Purple Heart. In a quote unquote treetop revelation on a reconnaissance mission, he realized the US was fighting against nature and would lose, and the Viet Cong were working with nature and would win, and that there were lessons here worldwide. Returning to school at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, he received his MA and PhD in history and wrote 2 books on organic gardening in Hawaii and 2 on the Ho Chi Minh Trail and the role of nature in the Vietnam War. He has taught for over 30 years at Hawaii Community College, UH Center at West Hawaii, Palamanui campus, Pepperdine University, University of California, Santa Barbara, in Japan, and on Guam. He's received numerous awards for teaching, native tree planting, and ancient trail restoration, including the Dr. Richard Lynn Stevens Endowed Scholarship for Restoration and a National Take Pride in America Award from the U.S. Department of Interior. He lives on an agroforestry farm in Kona, Hawaii Island. And we welcome you this morning. Thank you so much for coming. Take it away.
Aloha kako. Are you ready? We're going to do this just like I do my classes. So I will ask you a question. This is call and response, and you'll respond. And so since all my classes, we thought we think of each other as a team, you'll do it in the plural. So when I say, are you ready? Then you will all say, yes, we are ready. So are you ready?
Yes, we are ready.
Are you ready to take a spiritual journey? This will be a little more difficult now. Are you ready to take a spiritual journey in the great tapestry of life? Right on. It's showtime. 1979, the movie All That Jazz. you may recall, it's about the choreographer Bob Fosse, uh, man that had a drug problem. In order to go out and do his thing, he would look at himself in the mirror and say, "It's showtime." And I found that very useful in college too, in coming before my team and getting the right kind of energy to communicate to them. So it's showtime. And big mahalo to you music folks. That was a terrific way to get things started. Super big mahalo to Pasha and Ramona. In conversations with them prior to this, of course, uh, I actually got a new title for this presentation. Before I had a very long and kind of clunky title, and it didn't seem like it was really working to me. But Pasha said one thing in a phone conversation I had with her, and Ramona said another, and suddenly I knew that the title of this was Intersecting Paths, intersecting paths on the great journey of life. And so that's what I want to focus on as we go forward here now. Uh, First of all, I would like to return to the wonderful practice of meditation and spend a few moments here meditating. And meditating, of course, in a way, is in school, it's mindful listening. Uh, this time, I would like to have you visualize as you're sitting here for a few moments with your eyes closed and being very mindful, a great tapestry of light. I would like you to see life as a tapestry of light in which we as individuals are the, the warp and the woof of this. We are streams of light uh, going from life to life out through the universe. And there are other streams of life that come and intersect with ours, sometimes just very briefly brushing, going on, sometimes intertwining, uh, creating something beautiful and powerful. And so it's really those intertwining, intersecting streams of light that I want to focus on after we spend a few moments meditating on that, and all of us together bringing forth that image of this great tapestry of light that is life itself. So, a few moments of meditation, please. Mahalo e ke akua, mahalo e ka aina, mahalo e kapo e kahiko. Thanks to God, thanks to the land, thanks to the ancient people, and again, thanks to all of you for being here. Before we leave the subject of life as a great tapestry of interwoven streams of light, I want to call your attention to our dear friend here, Kukui. The kukui tree, of course, a symbol of light. That was the source of light in ancient Hawaii. It is the state tree of Hawaii for the many uses that it had, all of its parts used, as was the case so often with plants in Hawaii. But it is here giving off its light to add to our light and to remind us of this particular image that I would like to carry forth to the end of the presentation. So now, in addition to meditation power, which we just had, I'd like to say something about pule power, prayer power. This is something that we do before all of our events at school when we're going out to restore trails or plant native trees. We do it in the classroom too to power us up to do great things mentally and spiritually at the same time. And so I would like to suggest to you that there are ways to really power up your pule, and it can work like this. Different elements that I'm going to stir into the usual mix of the prayer, and then we'll do a few moments of silent pule after I present this. First of all, there's a law of attraction. Like attracts like. If you want to go to science for this, it's Isaac Newton's third law of motion. Uh, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So what we want to send out is what we want to bring out. You send out positivity, you're going to bring back positivity. You send out negativity, you're going to bring back negativity. So we're going to send out positivity in the form of gratitude. So that's the second element. Uh, so there's law of attraction, then there's gratitude that we're going to use to power up our pule. And then there is the wonderful Buddhist prayer that says, may all beings become enlightened. May all beings become enlightened. That is just a beautiful, powerful, and all inclusive kind of source of power, I believe. So let's include that then in our mix to empower Pule. Going to have it as part of this Pule we're going to do. And then there is the basic principle of weightlifting. And I heard this when we used to have Gold's Gym down here where Pacific Island Fitness is now. As I walked past an older and very advanced weightlifter was training a younger protege, might have been his son. And as I walked past them, I heard the older one say these words. If you want to get big, you got to go heavy. If you want to get big, you got to go heavy. If you want to get strong, you got to go heavy. You got to put weight on the bar. So it's really like putting that weight on the bar, challenging yourself, going beyond the usual in order to get the result that you want in weightlifting. So remember that then. Basic principle of weightlifting, if you want to get big, got to go heavy. Now, the last element we're going to put in, and then we'll have our prayer power package complete here, is the Great Wave off Kanagawa by Hokusai. It's probably the best known Japanese wood block print. Pretty sure you all have seen it. It's this incredibly big, beautiful wave. Uh, a small boat with some small fishermen in it amongst the wave. And there's another wave coming from this way. And in the distance, you see what is a minuscule Mount Fuji. So you really get the feeling like, oh my God, what an incredible wave this is. And it's just absolutely beautiful. Uh, I have a Japanese student from Kanagawa this semester in my class. And she, of course, loves that uh, woodblock print. And when I asked her about that great wave, if she'd ever seen a wave like that off of her hometown, Kanagawa, she said, she kind of laughed and said, I think that was a Hokusai wave, uh, implying, of course, that perhaps there weren't great waves like that very often, at least, off Kanagawa, and maybe Hokusai created that himself. But the idea is that your prayer then, packed with power here, becomes like a great wave. And so it can be something like this. Remember the other elements that we're going to incorporate here. Thank you, we got the gratitude there, for the great wave of healing, blessings, love, and joy going out to all beings in the universe. And all beings of these times, the past times, all times, every time. Load up the bar. Make your prayers so huge that they're like the great wave off Kanagawa. So, as part of our journey, we'll spend a few moments in silent prayer, if you will. And I would like to suggest that one of the things that we put into our moment of silent pule now is gratitude for setting our inner compass in a good direction for this event that we're having here now, for the rest of our day, for the rest of our lives, for the rest of our many lives. So we set our inner compass for a good direction. We're thankful that our compass is set in a good direction. And then just think of anything that you especially feel gratitude for. And when we're all thinking of the same thing together, it generates a tremendously powerful energy. So if we're all thinking thoughts of gratitude for something in particular, uh, let's just see what kind of great things it's going to draw to us the rest of our day and the rest of our days. So a few moments of silent power pule, please. Mahalo kako. Thanks, everybody. So what we're on here is, this is one of my favorite Hawaiian words. We're on huaka'i here. Everybody will say huaka'i. Huaka'i is a journey, and that journey usually implies that it's a journey of adventure, it's a journey of learning, it's a quest. And so huaka'i is something that we go on with every team meeting that my classes have becomes a huaka'i. And if it's a quest, what is it really that we are questing for then? What are we searching for? Things of value to find. I teach history, so it's traveling back through time. We're a time travel club. We go back into time in order to find things of value to bring up here into the present. Uh, so we are searching for Ike. If everybody would say that, Ike. Ike is Okina, and then Ike means vision or insight or knowledge in general. We're searching for Ike on our quest. And the particular quest that I'd like to suggest to you is a quest for the remarkables in our life. The remarkables on that journey of the streams of intersecting light. Think for a moment, who are the most remarkable people that you have met in your life, and what has it meant to you that your paths intersected? It's fun to think of the different categories you can make up here. Like, who's the funniest person you've ever met in your life? You know, who's the most beautiful? Who's the most spiritual? Uh, I'm going to tell you a couple of examples, and then you can be thinking of your own at this time too. Uh, First example I will tell you is my Marine Corps and Hanai brother, Wailehua Gray. And Wailehua, uh, in addition to being a Marine, and then after that he was in the Merchant Marine, uh, he's got three categories of remarkable to me. Uh, One is he's the most gifted person artistically that I've ever met. He was a professional jazz guitarist, uh, Spanish classical, also Hawaiian, of course. He's Hapa Haole himself. His mom was pure Hawaiian. And as an artist, anyway, if he could hear something, he could play it at perfect pitch. Then in visual arts, if he could see it, he could draw it. And so he did the cover. This is my recent book, which you can find out about on flyers on the table there, Trail to Redemption, Love and War in Vietnam. Uh, he did this painting uh, several years before the book was published, but the publisher, in seeing it, knew right away that it was the perfect painting for the cover of the book. And Wiley Hua did the cover of my previous book, also about Vietnam, and the drawings for the book prior to that. So, as a gifted artist, he's the most remarkable. And he was the coolest person. Oh, how I envied his cool. He had a natural cool that I, coming from the hick town of Prairie City, Iowa, He was the first Hawaiian I ever met in the Marines. The Marines, military's like that. You're going to be meeting people you never would have dreamed of encountering before. So he was the first Hawaiian. He was also the coolest person I ever met. And so those are a couple of the categories you can think of for yourself. And the intersecting then, in his case, intersecting with his life is the reason why I am here right now. And that happened like this. Our battalion was ordered from Camp Pendleton to go to San Diego, get aboard ship, and be sent to Okinawa when the Cold War was heating up. 5 days later, we pulled into Honolulu Harbor, and his mom met him. I saw my first Hawaiian lady, this beautiful white-haired lady, putting a lei around her tall son's neck as we came off the ship. And they were having a big party at his house before our ship would leave that night. He drew me a map on how to get there out in rural Oahu. And uh, late in the day, following his pirate treasure map, I finally found my way to Waiaba, which was a very rural place then. And here was this big party going on, a rainbow of people inside. I'd grown up in a completely white world. Uh, and at the end of the evening, his mother came to me and said, when you get out of the Marines, you come back here and live with us. You're going to be our Holly boy. And I said, what's a Holly boy? And everybody standing around chuckled the way you are now. So when I said, what's a Holly boy? She said, you come, you find out. Isn't life a lot like that? You come, you find out. The intersecting paths. And so when we got back to the ship, I said to him, said, is your mom really serious about, she wants me to come and like live there? They just met me, and what's going on? He said, yeah, that's a aloha spirit, that's the way they are, that's the way they live. And uh, and then he said, there's something else about it too. You ate their food. That's very important to them. And he said, now let's go down and get some chow before those swabbies throw it over the side. Then you got to come back here, come back aboard when the ship leaves and throw that lei that she gave you over the side. And I said, what? She just made that for me. She got the flowers from the tree right outside the kitchen door. And he said, no, the tradition is when you leave aboard ship, if you throw your lei over the side and it floats back to shore, then you will come back yourself someday. And I said, well, how will I know that? And he said, if you come back, you'll know. So that began what then became me going and finding out what was a Haole boy and living in a Hawaiian family, going to the university and becoming part of this wonderful world. The intersecting paths and the influences that they have on us. We want to really be alert for them. And again, even those that are just those brief brushings together, what is it that they have to give? What is it that we have to give to them? So the second one now, who is the most remarkable person you've ever met? Forget the categories. Who's the most remarkable, amazing person you have ever met? In my case, her story is the subject of this book. It is a Vietnamese woman warrior who I helped to capture in 1969. And what I saw her do that night convinced me that humans were capable of a lot more than I ever dreamed they were capable of. And what she endured later in captivity put it over the top as far as what humans who are powered by a love for their land can do to protect those that were in her care, that her captors were trying to find out about, and she never gave any of them away. Just to give you a brief glimpse into how she was captured, she was betrayed by her own bodyguard for the reward. She was a very important Viet Cong leader of guerrilla forces, and her bodyguard uh, wanted to get married, actually. And he was not a very committed Viet Cong, and so he passed the information of where she was to be at midnight on a Vietnamese Buddhist holiday called the Night of Wandering Souls. And I was the advisor to a unit of 105 ex Viet Cong. And the information came to us, and so we formed a team of 16 people to go and wait at the place where he said she would be at midnight. And so on the full moon night of Wandering Souls, we went into the countryside. By the way, uh, her nickname that American intelligence had given her was Annie Oakley. Annie Oakley uh, is a figure out of the American frontier and the American West. She was the star of the Buffalo Bill Wild West show, and probably the best shot in the world for most of her adult life. At any rate, Annie Oakley was a part of the American West and the American frontier that popped up again in Vietnam. Indian country was the forest, the mountains, the night that was ruled by the Viet Cong. That was Indian country. The Oregon Trail was Highway 9 to Laos, where there were lots of ambushes along the way. Kit Carson Scouts were XVC who became then Scouts for American units. Daniel Boone teams were long range reconnaissance. So the Old West, the frontier, came to life again. And she was Annie Oakley. When I first heard that we were going on this operation to capture a girl, uh, the word for girl in Vietnamese is co, C-O, the little hat over the O. So it's used for girl or unmarried woman. Annie was 28 at the time, unmarried, and so she was still referred to as co. So I was just learning Vietnamese, and when the news came, all I heard were words of mountains, forest, midnight, girl. What was going on? It took all day before I finally got to someone who could tell me exactly what was happening. And I didn't like the sound of it. The sound of going after a girl did not sound good to me. What she did that night, as I said, convinced me that those who truly believe in their cause can achieve superhuman feats. She is a true superhero for those things that she did that night of running through gunfire, jumping over the bank of a river, swimming through gunfire to the other side, running through more gunfire. All the time, our guys who had been Viet Cong before were shouting at her, uh, Miss New, stop. You don't have to be a prisoner. Join us. You know, rally was the term to shift, to change sides. You rallied to the other side. It was easy to see right from the first. She had no intention of being a prisoner. She had no intention of changing sides. She had one thing in mind, and that was to escape and to continue her devotion to the cause. And so that night, when she was finally wounded, knocked unconscious by a grenade, and wounded in the ear, and then that only then were we able to capture her. lying there on the ground. She was then tied to a bamboo pole by her wrists and her ankles, and two women were recruited from the hamlet where all this was happening to carry her back to the ruined French built church where we'd left our vehicles. And so Annie was hanging from the pole by her wrist and ankle. She was feigning unconsciousness. Uh, and I wondered how she could possibly do it with the incredible pain that must have been with all your weight hanging from these ropes tied to a big bamboo pole. And the two women carrying out one on each end of the pole, of course, it looked like a captured lioness. When you mentioned the leopard before, I'd actually compared her to a leopard previously, thinking she would be waiting for us in the night. I thought it was probably a trap, that the whole thing was uh, made up to get us to go out there and then she would ambush us. But it turns out we did capture her. The first indication I had of her presence was when one of the XVC and I, as it got closer to midnight, were waiting outside the house where she was supposed to come. This in the deep countryside, the big full moon. Remember, it's the night of wandering souls now, rising out of the South China Sea, which was just a mile away. And even before she herself became a visible presence, there was a wave of energy that went through the bamboo. And the young VC beside me turned to me big eyed and said, "She's coming." In other words, she had an energy that preceded her arrival, that swept through the bamboo. And that obviously was what was carrying her through the night. Uh, are we getting close to the 5 minute? I think we're there. Okay, I think I want to pause there and give you an opportunity in the 5 minutes that we have left here to ask any questions that you would like. In the announcements phase, I will tell about what there are two things over there, one relating to our school and one relating to this book, but I would be very happy to entertain any questions you have now. Yes? Just down the street here at Ways at our old campus, I was offered a chance to teach history of the Vietnam War. And one of the people in my class was Jerry Mickey, who was a retired Air Force colonel. And I taught the class by telling the stories of people like her. And after I told her story in class and mentioned that I wanted to write a book about her, he waited for me outside class. And when I came out, he said, "So when are you going back to Vietnam to look for her?" And I said, "I don't want to go back to Vietnam." And he said, "Well, you have to go back to Vietnam. You can't tell her, her story without getting her side of the story." And uh, I said, "To tell you the truth, Jerry," I said, "I can't afford going back to Vietnam." And he said, "What? How much can it cost? $2,000? I'll loan you the money. I'll write you a check right now." He said, "Talk to your wife. She'll know I'm right about this. You have to go, and you have to go soon. They don't live as long as we do." And so I went back in 1995 and looked for her. And not knowing what she would say, because I visited her several times in captivity and when she was in the hospital recovering from her captivity. So she knew who I was. And there was a certain danger in that because when the North Vietnamese took over the country in 75, the first people they went for revenge were those who had changed sides. And since I was an advisor to the people who changed sides, uh, I was not too sure how I might be welcomed. But I went back and looked for her and found her and had two meetings at her house with her. See, because another thing that happened is on the night that we captured her, I fell in love with her, with her power, with her dedication, with her physical skills, with her courage, with her determination. And as I sort of followed her through higher and higher levels of interrogation and saw she was never telling them anything, no matter what horrible things were done to her, what horrible conditions she was kept in. She kept true to her cause and to the people that she could have put in very serious harm by talking, but she did not. I'm just a woman. I'm no one, just a woman, just a messenger. She kept saying that over and over. At any rate, I did go back and I did find her. And I got to say to her, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what we did to you. And I'm sorry what we did to your country. Yes. I learned from her, first of all, that human beings are capable of doing superheroic things when they are motivated by a love for the land. And in her case, we as Americans were just like the French had been. We were just another foreign invader, like the Japanese had been in World War II, like the Chinese had been before that. Uh, I have a lot of quotes of hers in the book because she wrote me a letter after we came back. So the epigraphs to all the chapters in the book are her words, where she describes her motivations. And she is very modest about it. She feels she's just in the tradition of Vietnamese women warriors. But to me, what I saw her do and what I saw her endure later, she is a true superhero. So she is the most remarkable person that I've met in this life. And so my stream of light intertwining with her continues to energize me as I go through this life, both for facing difficult things, which are nothing like she faced, and for aspiring to great things, which she achieved. Any other questions? Yes. It certainly did change a lot. Uh, for one thing, it gave me her whole story. Uh, uh, for example, where was she before she came and sent her energy wave through the bamboo outside the old man's house, where she had another of her hideouts? She told me about the kind of hideout that she had in the hamlet, which was, get this, it was a underwater tunnel that she had dug herself in the banks of a stream that went up and then under a bamboo grove that was on the banks of the stream. So to get into her hideout, she had to dive into the stream, swim underwater, go through this tunnel. If any of you know, like muskrats and beavers have tunnels like this with underwater entrances that come up then into a dry place. I cannot, and then she would have to stay in there the entire day until night came again. And her contact in the village, Miss Doy, a childhood friend, would get in her little woven bamboo boat and with a certain rhythm beat on the sides of the boat, because that's the way they made the fish move on this stream, small river. She would hear that rhythm and know there were no enemy like us in the village that night, so she could come out. So those were the kind of things that I found out by spending time with her and her family. We have one more question there. Shall we take it? No, the Hawaiian woman was the mother of my Marine Corps brother, who became then my Hanai brother. And the Vietnam woman was the enemy woman who became then the remarkable person. Yes. Okay. The question was, do I think there's any unfinished karmic work to be done between her and me? I will say that in the second meeting at her house, sitting at her table with her husband there, her daughters who ranged from 16 to 22, a few grandchildren were there, all listening to her tell these stories for the first time. They were hearing these stories. Uh, that there was a moment where I got up the courage to reach across the table to her, and she reached across the table to me, and we held hands like that. And I think in that moment, for me, I felt, dare I say, healed. And the letter that she wrote, which is in this book, translated into English, um, we had this affection for each other. I don't think she felt the way as much the way I felt about her as she did about me, but definitely uh, what I tried to do while she was in captivity was to make her situation a little bit better. Sometimes it backfired and became worse, so that added to my karmic debt. Uh, but definitely it felt good upon leaving. And that's a lot of what the title of the book is about, Trail to Redemption. Shall I sit?
Yeah, thank you so much, Richard. The last sharing was particularly moving, touching, and you can speak with Richard uh, about his book. You'll probably have a way that we could get copies, and through the information that you give us, we'll be able to do that. All right, thank you. So, whew, I'm just still affected by that last sharing that you told us about. I'm really glad that you got to apologize and, and feel forgiven, and that she could maybe bring closure to. I'm so glad her family was there to listen to the stories. Yeah, thank you. So, Darby, if you could please play some music. Um, we're going to start the Koa Bowl and pass it around while Darby's playing the offertory music.
Bringing it back to in the beginning of your presentation, how you connected in with nature and you felt the power of nature. And so this is one of our favorite songs, a Hawaiian chant about our love and care for nature. He malama i ka hea, he malama i ka hea, he malama pono i ka hea, he malama i ka hea, he malama i ka hea, he malama pono i ka hea. He malama i ka hea, he malama i ka hea,
Mahalo nui. Mahalo nui. Thank you, musicians Darby and Shakshi. So now we're going to have the announcements. And just the first thing is that normally we take our speakers out to lunch and they pick a place. And today we're going to forego that because Richard had a previous commitment. But I hope that we see you in future and can spend time with you again here. Um, and I too am very curious about the nature uh, part that you talk about, uh, that I read about in your bio, the connection to the earth and to nature, and the fact that you uh, live on an agroforestry farm. Mahalo. So coming up at New Thought Center of Hawaii, Sunday services at 10 a.m. in person at the center and by live stream. So you can check the website for the YouTube link. And afterwards, there is a video on YouTube of the service you were just in. We have free childcare. We need to have a reservation from you by Friday, please. So coming up the next 3 Sundays on April the 2nd, Nancy Shipley Rubin, Trusting Your Source, music by Sakshi. Yeah. And April the 9th, Easter, Julia Fairchild, Sacred Sounds, music by Dick Franklin. And there's going to be a potluck brunch after service. So make sure you bring something yummy when you come to that one. And then on April 16th, Jinan Wong, he is our friend and teacher of Qigong, Tai Chi, here at New Thought. He is a Sifu. He's a master. He comes from a long lineage of Tai Chi masters. So what he teaches is Tai Chi Tao, short forms for long life. And he will be presenting, and then the music will be by Mia Margaret, which will be harp and vocals. Special events on April the 2nd, after Nancy Shipley Rubin speaks. She has a workshop from 1:30 to 4, and it's a $30 fee or donation. It's called Grounding the Light, a practical guide to utilizing spiritual resources. And then just another reminder that on Easter, April the 9th, we do have the potluck right after morning service, and all are welcome. Weekly class, Mondays, 4:30 to 5:30 p.m., Tai Chi and Qigong with Jinan Wang. The class will resume on April the 3rd. Monthly events, which occurs today, is the produce giveaway, last Sunday of the month. So if you have anything that's growing on your land or where you're living, please bring it to the last Sunday of the month. And in the back there, it looks like a lot of people brought some wonderful gifts to share. Woo, look at that. Yes. Demonstrating in the tell us the name of that. Custard apple. Doesn't that sound yum? Um, and then there's Crystal Bowl Meditation, second Sunday. The next one coming up is April the 19th. Service opportunities, we really appreciate anybody who will, raise their hand and come and volunteer. This is a community effort. We all minister to one another. So we need Sunday service volunteers, greeters, setup, cleanup, tech help. It's all very simple. Lay ministers. See Patty Wall back there. She is our primary lay minister, and she'll be able to give you more information. So we can provide our speakers with handmade lays. That's very powerful energy. We need a librarian for a New Thought Lending Library. To volunteer for anything, click reply to the New Thought Center Hawaii newsletter. And then we do appreciate you putting your name in the guest book there. We are, always adding to our mailing list. So please sign the guest book to get a weekly e-newsletter. Or you can sign up via the website, which is www.newthoughtcenterofhawaii.com. All right. So, yes, Pasha. Do you want to say something? Oh, the writing course. Oh, he has a.
want to call your attention to the table over there. There's two stacks of flyers. One does have to do with the book. The book can be ordered from our bookstore here or Amazon or pretty much any bookseller. But the other one is from our school. And I teach a class that many people from the community take. It's called Writing Personal History. And in it, uh, students, team members, write a book of their life in one semester. Uh, the class doesn't have tests or anything. It's solely about writing your life story. And Anne Inaba, by the way, an important person in this organization, was a member of that class a number of years ago. And I just heard the wonderful story that her daughter found the manuscript that she wrote in the class, had a lot of things in it that the daughter didn't know about her own mom. And at any rate, that flyer tells you how, if you're interested, to get admitted to school, and then how to follow the pathway to this particular class. Again, it's called Writing Personal History, and it is about capturing those memories before they get away. It's really a legacy project where you are doing something. Oh, how I wish my parents and grandparents and great grandparents would have done this, and I would know something about them. Uh, at any rate, for those who come after you, they'll be grateful that you captured the important events, places, people of your life. So check that flyer also. Mahalo.
Thank you. Thanks for that reminder, Pasha. Thank you, Richard,
Would you
for
mind if
that.
I departed?
Aloha. We were just going to stand and sing the Hawaii song. So, do you have 1 minute or 2 minutes? Okay, let's do this. So, everybody form a circle. Get this out of the way.